Hey, Heel Squad. Surprise, surprise. I am here with a very, very special guest, an AEW superstar where only the elite wrestle.
Yes, the best wrestler. Thunder Rosa, La Mera Mera, is here and Heel Squad. And I am here to tell you a wonderful story about Melissa Cervantes, the other side of Thunder Rosa. I'm going to tell you when I came to this country, when I didn't speak English, when I came at 17, went to UC Berkeley, then became a social worker. And then after all of that, I had a dream to become a professional wrestler at 28 years old. So if you're in the crossroads of your life and you feel like you can't make it or people are telling you that you shouldn't do it, you know what? This is the episode that you should watch because I have great examples of why you shouldn't give up.
You know why else?
Why else?
Because you'll become a world champion.
Yes!
So, like Thunder Rosa did.
Yes.
All that and more on this episode. I really hope you guys enjoy. Hey, Heel Squad with Maria Menounos fans. Well, you hear my voice, and yeah, some of you are already a little disappointed, and I'm very sorry about that because I'm not Maria Menounos. I'm Mr. Maria Menounos. And it's a Monday chat show, a very special chat show. And for any of you who are, I'm not going to say in a dead-end job, but you're in a career, maybe you're a little burnt out, or maybe you've dreamed of you've had higher aspirations career-wise, or maybe even the craziest, wildest dreams, but you were afraid to execute them. Well, today I have a friend of mine who's in studio who's actually a professional wrestler. Her wrestling name, Thunder Rosa. But when you hear where she started from and what she did very close to the age of 30 to make a complete 180-degree pivot to where she is now, I think there's going to be a lot of great takeaway and a lot of great information. Melissa, thank you for coming. So, Melissa, full name. So
okay, you want my full Mexican name or the Americanized name?
No, what the Mexican name, because it's even more aspirational.
Okay. Melissa Marlene Cervantes Robles. I was just talking about that. I have two last names and two names. That's just the Mexican style.
Okay. All right. So, known as Thunder Rosa in AEW, and I've had the pleasure of meeting her because, of course, I'm an advocate for Mercedes Moné, and from the very first night, you came up and introduced yourself. You were very gracious and kind and welcoming. And then we started talking. Yeah. And just to hear your story, I said, oh, my goodness, wow. Like, I feel like if you can do it, there's other people who can do it too. But what was your civilian job, your mortal job, your layperson job?
So I graduated from UC Berkeley in 2010 with a BS on sociology, Bachelor's of Science of Sociology.
Okay.
Then from there, right after that, I went to work as a school counselor in a school called Seneca Center in the Bay Area. Here, I was helping the teachers if in case that one of the kids that had any emotional trauma or whatever in the classroom was having an episode, we would remove them from the classroom. And then at the time here in California, we were able to restrain if in case that they were danger for themselves or for others. So we have to do restraints in quiet rooms. So that's what I did for 2 years. And that was very, very difficult for me in my mental health because you can't retaliate to the kids because you are there to support them emotionally and physically.
you're kind of a punching bag, right?
Absolutely.
Because they're young and they just want to lash out and release.
And it was very, very scary. I was 24 when I started working there, and you just have to come from a place of compassion because it's not their fault. Like,
of course,
I had the privilege to sit in many family meetings or family therapy, and the stories that we hear and just like the healing that we were trying to do from generational trauma was very strong. And just to see what the kids have to go through and how resilient they were, it kept me working there because it was for them and it was not for me. Because even though my circumstances were not as good as many of the people that I work or went to school with, they weren't as bad as these kids. So I always put that in perspective when I was working there. And then from there, I jumped into Thunder Road. Yeah, that's where the name Thunder Rosa came from. Here, I was doing something similar. I was working on the floor in the men's unit. I was working with kids between the ages of 13 and 18.
What is Thunder Road?
Thunder Road is a rehab facility in Oakland, California. It was 4 blocks from my house. And I remember passing by and I'm going to work here one day.
For teenagers?
For teenagers, yeah. And it worked for kids in the county of Contra Costa County, San Francisco County, and Alameda County, which is in, San Francisco, Oakland, and then all the vicinity. And then I started moving up from position until I became supervisor in the mornings. I was working Monday through Friday, which allowed me to go and train in the evenings, professional wrestling.
Okay, so that's we have to get to because this was the pivot. So you're doing this. You went to college for this and UC Berkeley. It doesn't get much better than that. So clearly you had really good grades. You worked really hard to get there, I would think.
Oh, it was incredible just for me to get in because I was the first one to graduate from high school in my family.
And you grew up...
I was born and raised in Tijuana, Mexico.
Okay.
I came here when I was 17 years old. I didn't speak any English. My English level was of a 7th grader.
It's just so humbling. We just, as Americans, we're so lame. Like, you came here at 17 and didn't speak English.
No. I write in English, but my English, man, it was bad. It was people used to make fun of me and they used to be mean, but I never gave up. And when I started school, I was not hanging out with my friends that spoke Spanish. I was hanging out with all the kids that wanted to teach me English. I wanted to learn. I came to this country to learn. I came to this country to have a better opportunity, a better life. I didn't come here to just play games. I didn't have time to play games.
Right.
And that's what and if it's the funny thing is when I do promos, like in professional wrestling, we call it promos. When I tell some of my peers who are, from Jersey or from other places, I didn't have time to play games when I came to America. We didn't have time to play. People like me, we don't have time. We have to work. We have to bust our butts. Right. We live on survival mode forever because we're one paycheck away from being homeless or from our family to have a catastrophe. So you'll never have time for anything but to work and just to focus on what's in front of you. And dreaming big is not a thing.
It's not a thing.
No. I mean, you can, but it's how are you going to do it if you don't have the means, you don't have the resources, you don't have the network?
No, I totally understand. And imagine now we have, so many people who tune into our show who you would think grew up with far more means and feel like that. They feel like they can't dream. They're in their cubicle or whatever they are, which, sometimes, and this, is growing up hard can be such a blessing too.
Yes.
Because it's such a deeper appreciation. But, wow, I didn't know you didn't speak the language and you didn't come here until you're 17. That's incredible. And you make it to UC Berkeley.
Yes.
Again, a little speechless, so stick with me. So then, and I think in first one to graduate, and typically, as I've seen in immigrant or first-gen families, it's such a big occasion to be able to get a diploma for high school, then to get one for college.
Yes.
And then the next thing is to become a nurse, a teacher, and I forget statistically the first generation goes into service industry, meaning it's teacher.
It's so interesting you say that because when I was in Seneca Center, we had an opportunity to apply for school, and they'll pay for your school. So I had my application for my master's degree in social work. I was going to go to do social work, and I was ready to turn it in, but that's when professional wrestling came into my lap, and I was like, oh, this sounds
so what I'm saying, to make that pivot, even with a family, because I know even my family, which is very Italian. My very Italian father was horrified. Anything outside of doctor, lawyer, businessman was, what are you doing? And when I'm like, well, I want to go to Hollywood and write. It was like, we didn't talk for 2 years. So even to do that with your family, to say, now I went to UC Berkeley. It's like Harvard of the West Coast. And now I'm going to go become a wrestler. How were they with that?
So even for me going to UC Berkeley, at the time where I got accepted into school, and I remember telling my father that I got accepted into UCLA and UC Berkeley, he didn't really understand. He didn't have the notion of how big this was, not only for me, but for my whole entire family, because this will be definitely for me an opportunity to provide for them in the future in a way that I would have never done unless, I went and really dived myself into a business that made a lot of money so I can take care of everyone, right? So it was kind of disheartening because like a lot of my friends were like, oh my God, my parents made a family, like they threw a party and stuff. And I was like, my dad was going through a separation with my mom. He was, dealing with his own problems. And like, it was hard for him because like I was one of the providers at home. Like I paid for half of the rent and like, I was very supportive to my family. So it was a big hit for him because not only I was a provider financially, but I was I'm sorry, I haven't even talked about this.
No, sorry.
I was an emotional provider for my parents. And for me to leave like that, it was hard for him and it was hard for everybody, because they depended on me. So I took a risk, and at the time my partner was very supportive, and he's the one who said, you gotta go, because if you don't go, you're not gonna be able to like live your dreams. So it was a hard decision that I made, and I'm very blessed that I did that.
And ultimately it worked out for everyone, I bet, right?
Yeah, because I don't think I would have found professional wrestling if I would have made that move.
And, because a lot of us get trapped in guilt. Even for my family, it wasn't so much I had to provide, but it was emotional support. And so my dad was like, well, all hope is lost. I worked my whole life to see you succeed. And he was just shattered, and died really a few years later. He was like, so, we made amends, but I think the fact that you did that, yes, it made it for you, but it was also, you were not going to serve them by just being their kind of battery and being their enabler, and I think a lot of people forget fear of, I don't want to give up something stable, but guilt of, maybe if your mom, right? Or whatever it is, you're guilty to go and do that. And so I think it's amazing that you did. And I really want people to hear, like, it was the best thing. And by the way, like, you're successful, but it's not like you're making millions yet, right? At this time, right? So, but you took the chance, you followed your heart, and it was best for everybody, right? It wouldn't have been best for your parents. You keep supporting, because now we'll all just kind of go down together.
Yes.
Now, what does your dad think?
Oh, he's very proud.
Right? He's blown away. I know, right?
Yes.
So, but it for you, it was enough which again, blows my mind again. It was enough for you to just leave to go to college. Like, that's at least I was thinking it's the first gen family where they're pushing you to go to college. You have the true immigrant family was like, no, you have to stay here and help provide. So that's a big first step. So now, I want to know, like, you're in this other job, which is rewarding emotionally, but also very draining.
Very.
Right?
Oh, yes.
And it's tough because a lot of no-win scenarios. Because I did that too. My first few years out, I worked with at high school, and I worked with a lot of special needs, special education kids, and very rewarding, but also very, very draining, very tough.
Yeah, it was.
Right? And so, are you like watching TV one time? Like, how did the wrestling thing come on the radar?
So we happened to do an art walk there was something super popular in Oakland. It was an art walk, and they had a show on Fridays, every first Friday, called Hood Slam. And I remember going there with my partner at the time, and he was like, the second show or third show that we went there, he just looked at me, he's like, dude, you're totally fit for this. And I'm like, you're crazy, what are you talking about? I was like, you're totally fit to be a wrestler. Like, you're super extra, you're into sports, I know you can do it, because every time you set your mind on something, you always do it, you always blow me away. How about you try? And I'm like, no, you're crazy. Then when I went and worked at Thunder Road, that's when I met my friend Donovan, and he used to be a ring announcer. And he told me, hey, come to this show. This is a serious show called All Pro Wrestling. It's in Hayward, California. We didn't have a car, remember. Okay, we'll try to make it. So we rode the BART, and then we rode our bikes to the show. to see the show. And I remember I sat there and I was like, oh my God, this is pretty awesome. And then the guy was, the ring announcer there, he was not my friend, it was somebody else. Tomorrow we have a tryout for if you want to become a wrestler and follow your dreams. Like, it's all day for $50. And if you come in like first and second place, you get free tuition to become a wrestler. And then my partner was like, I think you should go. I was like, dude, I have to do a double tomorrow. Like, I can't do that. Just call in sick. Just come and check it out. See what happens. Went the next day, fell in love with it. I would say it like this. It was like they gave me the best drug in the world, and I just got hooked.
So, you know what I find interesting is for every one of you, there's 100 people who go, oh, $50. It's just a scam to get money. You know, there's so many of these.
Which probably was.
Right.
You know?
But you see your perception, that's the difference, and that was your choice. That's not a coincidence.
No, it's
This is
not.
what I love about you. That's why you're here. Yeah, that's why I find you so remarkable. Maria, my wife, same thing. Looked at everything like that the same way. Like, I'm in. It's an opportunity. Nothing gets handed to me. If it's a little crack, I'll take it. So for $50 in your mortal money, look what you got out of it.
Oh, I got everything.
Everything.
You know, if I found a new sport, something that it just fulfilled me, that changed my life. Like, it changed the way that I ate. It changed the way that I did everything.
So you start training at...
Yes. So I waited 6 months to start the school.
Okay.
And then at this time, we were saving money for my ex to go to college, right? Because I finished college and it was his time to go to college. So I helped him get some scholarships, and we got this extra money. And then he got sick, so he couldn't go to college. So we used his money to pay for my dream of becoming a professional wrestler.
Okay.
And in the process, the guy that owned the school dies, and I lost all my money and the school, and the way to like actually become a professional wrestler.
But again, this is incredible and such a big part of the story.
Yes.
So once again, you don't take your ball and go home. What do you do?
No. This was maybe a little distasteful, but I remember when they announced that he passed away. My first thing that came out to mind, I'm like, sorry guys, I know this is not the time, but I just want to know what's gonna happen to the school. And they're like, well, there's no school, there's no money, there's nothing. And I was like, okay, cool. I just need to know where I need to go. I'm gonna moan for my friend, but I also have to like figure out what I have to do for my future.
And by the way, all the money for you at that time.
It was a lot of money.
It
was $3,000 at the time.
And the situation you're in, that's your life savings.
Yes, it was like that was, scholarship money.
Right. I get it.
Somebody's future. And
right.
And I remember that night we went home and I looked at Brian on the face and I said, we're gonna make quadruple the money that we lost. And I'm gonna be very famous. I have a feeling in my heart this is gonna happen. And I'm not gonna stop until this happens. You know why? Because I'm so sick of this happening to me. I know I'm like the only one that looks like me. I know I'm not gonna be accepted for who I am. I'm Mexican, I have an accent, and I'm not blonde, I'm not white, I don't have this big. And it's just like, I know what I was against me in my future and my journey. But I knew that I was gonna overcome it. I overcame more difficult things than that. So this was gonna be not an easy cake, but it was gonna be an easier walk than other stuff that I've done that were like life and death. So I just kept going, found a school, and just things started happening.
And you still working the day job.
Yes.
So you did what I called, you start digging the escape tunnel.
Yes. So I have to switch from working on Thunder Road because it was just too much time for me, and I needed to find something that was more flexible. Mm-hmm. And that's where I started working at youth homes, which was when I told you I was working as a TVS worker. I was working with family at the families' homes, in schools, and I was working with kids, and I was working with young adults. So I had two different jobs. And both of my bosses were super supportive to my dream. That was super key too. Having a tribe that is supporting and have the same vision that you have. And I happened to find those people because 6 months in that job, I had an opportunity to go to Japan. And I talked to my boss, and I was like, hey, I really don't want to quit this job, but I need the job, but I also want to go to Japan to cement my dream as a professional wrestler. And he's like, okay, Mel. He used to call me Melissa the dog because I always fought for my clients so hard until they got what they needed.
Of course you did.
So he's like, yeah, you can take some time. How long do you need? 3 months. Okay, well, we'll do a leave of absence for you just this time, and then we'll figure it out later. We're very supportive of your dream, and I know that you're gonna do it because you're very dedicated and everything. Told my clients, and I went to Japan. This is like not even a month and a half after I debuted as a wrestler.
Okay. And you had enough money to do Japan?
I brought $500 with me, the blessing of my partner, and he was working at home, so he was supporting me when I needed it, and that was it. And whatever I had, I had no visa when I went to Japan.
How could you do?
I just said I was gonna visit a friend.
Okay, yeah.
I risk it all, whatever. This is like whatever. Didn't speak no Japanese. Didn't know anybody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I just went there, and things were not easy. The first month, things were very tough because I didn't speak the language. I was very new. You have to memorize so many things. They were rough, and they were tough. And on my fourth match, I got a major concussion, and I was out for a whole month.
Yeah, physically, I hear they're very, very tough.
Yes, and that company was going to a transition. So the old trainer quit, and then they had somebody new, and then they brought some like veterans, and I didn't really know, I live in America, so it's different. I totally did something terrible to one of my senpais, we call it veterans. I didn't sell, and I got concussed. And after that,
Wait, because you didn't sell.
No,
I mean, okay, let's explain for non-wrestling fans. It's Maria's show. So, in other words, like when we're choreographing our moves,
yes,
and you need to, and I'm gonna hit you.
I have to act.
Selling is showing the pain.
Yes.
And when you don't sell, you're not showing the pain. And that's what you did. Did you just freeze? Was it just a mistake?
I don't remember. We were doing something. She hit me. I didn't make the
proper reaction.
The proper reaction. And then we were on the floor. We were on the fence. She MMA leg kicked me. My leg went down. And I was like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to sell. Okay. And then all of a sudden, I see her coming with her clean head bump. And we finished it. Don't ask me about what happened later because I think I was
concussed. What clean? She head butted you.
Yeah, totally. And then days later, I started having signs of concussion. And it was very scary.
And that's when you decided to quit.
No, I did not quit. Absolutely not. I utilized the resources that I had, which was beautiful fans in Japan that care for the wrestlers. I reach out to them and I say, hey, I have no money. There's no way for me to work. Is there a way that you can send us, help us with some food? Because some of the girls we're struggling with money too. Our allowance is very small.
Yes.
And we're just trying to get by. They brought us food. They brought us products. Listen, Kev, I never had problems asking for help because that's what I do. That's what I did for my clients, And I know that when you do something good goes back to you. So I didn't do it just for me, but I did it for the community of girls that I was living in.
And I love this because you are asking for help for other people as well in addition. So it's okay to ask for help for yourself.
Yes. And they were absolutely amazing. That month was very difficult because I didn't know if they were going to send me home, if that was it, and just tenacity and resilience, and the help of like the two. It was Nikki Cross, who's in WWE right now, and Starfire, who were the people that were the closest. And
Nikki Cross is
she's a wrestler in WWE.
Yeah, and successful too. She's part of the right. Was she part of a tag team?
She was.
The three of them. Yeah.
Was. And then Hana Kimura, who no longer is with us, she used to be my nurse. She committed suicide 4 years ago.
Really?
Yes.
And she was a wrestler?
That's before she was a wrestler. She was, when she used to take care of me, she was 14, 15. She was the cutest.
So 14, 15 in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
she's a nurse.
But she was my nurse. I call her my nurse.
Her
mom sent it. Her mom sent it to take care of me because they were on tour, and I was supposed to be at home like at all times. So she had to take care of me.
I didn't know she killed herself, suicide. When was that?
Right after they closed everything in COVID, she committed suicide.
Is she in Japan or in America?
She was in Japan, yes.
I mean, why do you think? Just closed off?
That's a really good question. I don't know. Like wrestling can be very difficult for some of us. CTE is a real thing, and when you're completely isolated and you're struggling with things, like you never know. I just like remember seeing some pictures that she started posting some stuff. She got bullied. I remember. I know why it happened. She got bullied after she did a reality show, very popular reality show on Netflix, and people were just going after her, like
American
relentlessly.
Netflix?
No, Japanese.
Japanese Netflix. Got it.
It was a couple of Japanese guys,
Okay.
and they were relentless, and she just couldn't take it, and she decided to take her life. And ever since then, her mother has been fighting with the government to create new laws about this kind of bullying, cyberbullying. You know, and it takes a lot because the culture is not very supportive. And Miss Kimura-san, my respects, my hat to her. Like she's gone through a lot, you know, and she every year she does a celebratory show for her. But we were a community of women that we supported each other.
Over there.
You know.
And wow. Okay. I'm sorry. Just like processing that one. Jeez. Okay. So you're in Japan. I'm seeing all the ingredients, which is making you you. You're not giving up. You're resilient and resourceful. So continue.
So they cleared me, and the girl with the face paint came back because I used to wear face paint in the United States in one promotion. I didn't want to do it. I did not want to put a mask on myself, and I didn't want to be.
So wait, when you come back from Japan,
Uh-huh.
okay, what am I missing?
So I forgot to mention that piece when I was giving the face paint. I used to wrestle in Merced because it was so short the time that I wrestled here in America before I went to Japan. When I was in Merced, California, on Lucha Extreme, Lance Cardona, who was the person that was in charge of there, he said that I should wear face paint so I can attract more Latinos to his show because we were in Merced, California. Like, we want to bring more Latinos. I started putting that on, but only there. Like, I was so against my background. I did not want to be seen as the Mexican wrestler. I want to be seen as a wrestler. I want to be seen as a woman, right?
Yep.
And it was like in my process of running away from who I really was, I ended up finding myself. And this was happening in Japan, which is like being okay with being Hispanic, being okay that my roots are lucha libre, that I don't know any lucha libre, but going to Japan, that was going to get me closer to my roots. And that's when I started learning how to do lucha libre in Japan. On my first match in Japan, I tagged with my friend Starfire, who's a masked luchadora. She taught me like the basics of lucha libre. We had a match.
Is she Japanese or Mexican?
No, she's Mexican.
Okay.
She's Mexican. And she opened the doors for me to go to Mexico and train in Mexico.
Where's Starfire wrestle now?
Mexico City.
Okay.
Mexico City. But I remember, Kev, there were some differences that I see in the treatment on, we were talking about jobbers, right?
So in that business, it's the jobber would be, they call them enhancement talent
Enhancement
now,
talent.
but they lose, but they lose a lot, but their job is to make the opponent look great,
Yes.
right? In short, okay.
So I remember, because I started seeing a pattern, right? And I started seeing like certain girls got treated better for how they look. I was, the same feeling that I told you when I lost my money. I was so fired up, and I said to her and to Nikki, I will never allow anyone to tell me that I can't do something, that I'm not worth something, and I'm never gonna be a star. I was told those three things in Japan on my first tour. And that was like one of the catalysts of saying, you can go and F yourself because I'm gonna do what I know I came here in this world to do, and that is to be successful. Not because of this, it's because of the hard work and merit and everything else that I'm doing. And I'm not gonna screw anybody over for it.
Makes it a lot harder,
But
right.
It's not impossible.
But it lasts longer.
Yes.
And, and your integrity, and what made you, I mean, what was the click in to say, you work with Starfire to say, I'm gonna now embrace who I am? What was that, how did that breakthrough come out? Where I'm like, I'm gonna embrace my roots.
I mean, at the end of the day, I was born and raised in Mexico. I'm Mexican, and I want to be an American because this is where I live, and this is my new country, and this is what the place where it's giving me the opportunities to do that. And I always, ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to come to America. because I knew, like, I see my cousins coming, I see the opportunities that they have, I see the differences, like the resources that they have that I didn't have growing up. And when I came here for 1 year in high school, I was like, man, if I would have had this since elementary school, I would have gone to Harvard. Knowing how I was, I would have gone to Harvard. But I didn't. So I can't complain about it, and I just have to work hard, follow the steps that I need to follow to get where I need to get.
Okay, and now we're learning from Starfire. We're embracing our heritage. Are we wrestling in the United States or in Mexico now?
No, I came back and I started wrestling all over California. Then I had an opportunity to go and start training in Mexico. I wrestled in some of the independent scene over there in front of 30 people. And it made me really appreciate the women in Mexico and when they wrestle, because a lot of them were mothers. You know, that like the struggle that is to get from point A to point B, to follow their dream, to get paid $2 a torta and a soda. And a soda is just, it's rough. So I started comparing to what I was going through here. I was like, okay, at least I get $60 here. They pay for my gas, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't have to take a train, the metro, and a bus and wrestle in front of 20 people. I mean, at least I get to wrestle in front of 20 people, but I get paid. So it's just like the love and the passion that they have for professional wrestling, and every sacrifice that they do for their dream. When I came back here, I was more thankful, I was more grateful, and I was like, I'm gonna work harder to really make a name for myself, you know, and be one of my kind. Because I knew it. I mean, I knew I was one of my kind. There's been so many other female Mexican-born wrestlers that they made their career in Japan, but they never had an opportunity to do it here because of a lot of them, they don't speak English. And that, for me, speaking English was the golden key to open any door here in America.
Okay, so now we're wrestling here. Now how do we, eventually we get to world champion?
Well, it started by the same promotion that I was working in Japan, had a show here in America, and in LA. One of the Lucha Underground executives or writers saw me wrestle, and that was my first opportunity for TV, Lucha Underground.
Okay.
With Cobra Moon.
With what?
The name of the character that I used to play was Cobra Moon.
Oh, okay.
A mask wrestler. See, I'm telling you, I was running away to get a mask and they put a mask on me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I was immersed into what real lucha libre was. I met some of the legendary luchadores from Mexico, from the little people to Rey Mysterio. I got to work with Rey Mysterio, the Guerreros, top-notch people. And people that were the up-and-comers that were very talented. That was their first opportunity too. So
were you too young for Eddie Guerrero? Did you ever meet him?
Never got to meet him. He already passed.
He had passed. And I hear wonderful things about Rey Mysterio.
Oh, he was, when I met him, he had no mask. And I remember I was in the waiting room, and he came to the side and he's like, "Hi, I'm Oscar." And I was like, "Hi, nice to meet you." And then 3 seconds later, I was like, "Rey Mysterio?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's me." And I was like, "Oh my God. I went to the same high school." Like, that's the first thing that I said. "I went to the same high school that you did, Montgomery High School in San Diego. Nice to meet you." I was like, oh my God, I make a fool of myself. But he was so kind. He was so kind. And watching him and the perfection and the timing and just everything about him, I was like, wow, I'm in the presence of royalty. It was really cool. It was the best experience for me as a performer and also as a wrestler, because their tenacity and their perfection of some of the people that I work with really motivated me to do better and to be more and to really it was like a fast track to everything else that I was gonna do in life. So the first season was a little rough. I'm not gonna lie, it was really rough. My English wasn't very good, and I had to do live promos, which was my nemesis for years, because.
So live promos, to talk live in front of the whole stadium without a script or a teleprompter. Yeah, this is why the wrestlers have it so much harder than everyone realizes.
It was hard.
It's crazy.
Yes. All my traumas from professional wrestling came from this show.
So how did your promos get better?
Well, first of all, practicing speaking, like public speaking. That helped me tremendously. Doing broadcasting, which came like 1, 2, 3, like 5, 6 years later. That we'll jump into that. So, and then just being more comfortable and like really making things my own. And especially if you have somebody that writes for you, that person needs to understand your character and then needs to understand you too. So when you're giving these promos or these speeches, like they come across as natural and original in the essence of you. The last one that I did, it was, I'm going to fast forward real quick, was a couple weeks ago before a big match for the championship. It was a 5-minute promo. Believe me, I was like, Lord have mercy.
Wow.
I was told like 3 hours before. And somebody that really knows me very well wrote me the promo. And then I have one of the writers there edit it. He like guided me and helped me to do it. Thank you, Justin Harvey, for that. And it came out exactly what I wanted to say for the longest.
So when do we get to the big leagues?
Whew. So I started 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's when I get a big break. NWA.
Okay.
All these years I worked TV, different TV shows. Our Lucha Women's of Wrestling here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, David McLean.
David McLean. Don't even get me started with that one.
Wait, tell me about
Man,
that.
that was a learning experience. Let's put it that way. It was like
I remember he used to proclaim it was the Disney of wrestling. I don't know what it's like now.
I will have to say this. I learned to keep my own personal things to myself. Work, show my worth through my work, and if they didn't like that, it was time for me to move on. It's a great platform for other women that have no experience or really want to build other women, right? But it was difficult for me because I was at a point in my career and where I was like, oh, at that point, Kev, I was ready to quit. I was so ready to quit. I was done.
Even though you're on TV.
It was like I feel so disrespected all the time.
So again, this is something very familiar to anyone in any job, especially women, feel like this. They feel unseen, they feel disrespected, and they want to quit. And I love your solution of, I'm just going to keep going and
see what happens.
And if I'm not appreciated here, I'll move on.
Yeah.
So what happened?
NWA happened. I did a show. I did Ring of Honor in 2018, and David Lagana, who was in charge of the writing in NWA, he looked at me and said, I've been looking at your stuff. I need you to be patient. I didn't know what that meant because, when people tell you that stuff, you're like, yeah, whatever. So I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. 2018 comes, I receive a phone call. I was coming from a show in Texas, and he was like, we're interested in you being part of NWA, and then revamping NWA, and we want you to be a big part of the story. All right, cool. I show up there, and then funny thing is, Kev, because I was so bored and I was like, I felt like I was in challenge. I was like, I'm 33. I got an offer to do MMA. Not like amateur, like go in the big leagues.
But even amateur's hard because it's dirtier.
Yeah. Well, I decided to take a fight.
Oh my God! What? What?
Yes, because nobody respected me
Oh my goodness!
As a challenger. They thought it was a joke. They didn't want to pay me. I don't care. I was always doing the job fine, okay. But I just feel like I was knocking on so many doors, like trying so hard, like putting myself out there, promoting everything, and still didn't feel like nothing was working. And I was like, you know what? If I do this, I'm gonna challenge myself. After doing this, my brain is gonna be like, you're not.
I want to hear. Listen, I want to hear about this MMA fight.
Yes.
But I also want to say, when you are in America, and Dwayne and Nikkei in the booth are going to love this, do you ever go shopping at Macy's for clothes?
Yes, I do. I go shop at Macy's. Yes.
Do you really?
Yes, I do. There's a couple Macy's in Texas, and they're really nice.
Yeah. So there's
especially with the specials.
Right? Aren't the sales unbelievable?
Yes.
Every time I go in there, like I must have the luck of the Macy's. Like my mom is the type that will find the coupon and she finds them online, and she waits for the day, and then she'll But I'll go in and I'll always do Macy's roulette, and I'll always get lucky with
As a matter of fact, when Mercedes debut, I went to the Mercedes in Boston.
You went to the Macy's in Boston.
Macy's in Boston, yes.
Yes, when we were in the Boston Garden.
And I loved it. I was like,
oh my God.
I went for a walk and I ended up with 3 bags of clothes.
Clothes, yes, from Macy's. Well, listen, if summer's around the corner, and if you do, you want to beef up your wardrobe, Macy's is the place to go for men and women. And if you go to mariamenounos.com, you have all of Maria's summer picks, because we try to go to Greece every summer. That's Maria's Mexico. She's from Greece, and she's first gen literally only by like a month. She would have been born in Greece. So every year we make that trip over there. So Maria went online and she's got all her clothes for her big trip to Greece. So we have them on the website, mariamenounos.com, and it's Macy's. Okay, so now let's talk MMA. This is insane. I didn't know any of this. So
I have a very fun life.
yeah, you do. Well, I think it's very aspirational. I really do. I'm picking up so much here, and I hope other people are too. Okay, so I get why, but now tell me how. Tell me how it goes down, the MMA fight.
So I had 6 months to prepare for this fight. I remember telling the coaches at BTT, Brazilian top team in San Antonio, Texas, "Hi guys, I'm a professional wrestler and I'm jumping into MMA. You guys will train me?" And they're like, "You're crazy. We don't want to train you." And one of them, he works in the Air Force. He was like, "I'll train you. I believe in you. You're pretty tough." They see me in the ring, and they see me in the gym, doing jiu-jitsu. And I was a white belt. I was not even a blue belt when I got into
That's the entry level belt.
Yeah, and I did. I have
Goodness. Are you crazy?
Yes, I was.
Yes.
I was insane. I didn't know the severity of the decision that I made because I could have died.
Yeah. And you've already had your bell rung. You've already been concussed.
Yes.
Okay, so
this is the thing. I still needed to put money on the table. So I was wrestling on the weekends, and I was training Monday to Friday.
how long did you train for your MMA
Oh
fight?
my God. It was 6 months, and I was training 6 hours a day.
You're a
Jiu-jitsu,
beast.
boxing, kickboxing,
Okay,
conditioning.
so tell me about the fight.
The fight was on November 9th, 2019. I fought this woman who had 5 fights over me. She was undefeated at the time. It was her MMA debut. She had a 7-inch reach. She was tall, very tall.
And so she had 5 amateur fights, you're saying?
Yes.
Right, so she's
Yes.
5-0. Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
she was 5-0. And I remember I got in there, like walk the cage, filled the cage. The cage was sturdy. The air was light. It was at Freeman Coliseum, which this will translate to when I won the championship. I'll come to that later. My championship in pro wrestling. I remember all my family. My son was in the front row. The only thing that I could think is, don't get knocked out, and don't get too bloody because your son is there, and don't get embarrassed. That's the only thing I can think of. They closed the door and they put the lock in there. And I remember one of my friends says, when that happens, you're gonna feel the closest to God that you ever felt. I swear to God, it was true. There was no way to run away. You cannot run away from you. You're just there, your opponent, and God. And that is it. And my whole point, I didn't train to win. I trained to survive, which was a big mistake. You don't do that. You don't do that in MMA. You train to win at all costs. However, it was actually pretty good. It was 9 minutes because it was my first fight. I didn't get pinned, submitted, or KO'd. She won by decision. And the last round, that's when I felt the most comfortable because I was like, okay, I bled. She cut me with the elbow right here. I didn't get submitted. Like I was saved by the bell in the second round. And I just, again, show everybody the dog inside of me. I don't give up. This is my life. And this is what I do with it. And I do whatever I want to live my life. And you can't judge me because you won't do what I'm doing. And the fight was over. And there's actually, there was a mini documentary made by NWA because at the time they were getting ready to make me a champion in NWA.
Because they were so impressed by this, or just
David Lagana was very impressed with me. He knew that I had it, and he always reminded me of. He always called me the hammer. Just remember who you are. You're the hammer, and when you show that, people feel your energy. And when I finished, I just cried of happiness because that was one of the most difficult things I ever done in my life at the moment.
I can't believe you made it out. I mean, you didn't lose. I mean, you didn't get KO'd or TKO'd or.
And I was so proud. And my son was there. My best friends were there. There was a Thunder Rosa section. There's people with like signs, like all the fans, like professional wrestling fans, came and watched.
Wait, so there was a son in this equation?
What was that?
A son? Did you say?
Yeah, my stepson.
Your stepson.
Yes, he was.
This was your first partner?
Yes.
Yeah, the partner that helped everything through.
He was there through with me with my craziness.
Yeah. He seems like he helped you with a lot of these major decisions.
Yes, he did.
Can I ask, is he still in the picture?
Yes, we work in Mission Pro Wrestling together still.
Really?
Yeah.
Still helping each other?
Yeah.
Working together?
Yes.
Wow. I shouldn't be surprised. And then NWA.
NWA happens, and then right after that, the fight happens in November. January become the first Mexican-born female to become the NWA Women's Champion. And we had another season, and then COVID happened. And at the same time, I just got another title from Japan. First, Mexicans were in Tokyo Joshi Pro.
Do you have both titles?
I had them at the time, both at the same time.
Okay.
And COVID happened, and I had to return the Japanese title. And then with the NWA title, I was defending the title everywhere that I could with no fans. And then in August 2020, I received a phone call from AEW, and they're like, "We're interested in you. Can you make it?" I was like, "I'm signed with, NWA." Then Billy Corgan calls me, who's the owner of NWA. He's like, "Hey, we have an opportunity for you. Do you want to go and do a couple matches in AEW?" And I was like, "Duh, yeah." So I went as a lone wrestler. I went to do one show and then one pay-per-view. And they were, blown away by the performance and the presence of Thunder Rosa that they kept bringing me every week.
And let's back up a little. What's Billy Corgan like? I've never met him, but I mean, he's such a patron of wrestling.
He loves NWA to death.
He loves wrestling too, right?
Yes. He's a rock star.
Yeah.
So like he's a very interesting character.
Did he see you?
Yeah.
In terms of your talent?
I think at the point where he needed to see me, he saw me. Yes.
And does he get involved in the booking and all the creative, or is it just someone?
At this point, how he's running NWA, yes, he's very much involved in NWA. At the time, it was him and David Lagana.
Right,
and it was like Lagana's vision when he brought me into.
Do they still go out of that studio?
No, right now they're doing shows all over the country.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So now you start doing AEW more.
Yes.
And then, finally, did you get your contract?
I got my contract after. It was by merit. Like, I have to have some, like, grueling matches before I get this contract. Like, the one that pretty much set everything off and changed the trajectory of my career was the Lights Out match with Britt Baker. That's the one. Because we changed the game.
Yeah.
In TV and women's wrestling with the kind of match that we had, because it was gruesome. It was blood. There was chairs. There was.
Oh my goodness.
There was everything. We won match of the year, and very few women, and we were probably the first ones and probably forever to win that. So I am married by like blood with this woman forever.
Because of what you guys did together.
Because of what we did together.
When was that?
March 16 of 2021. No fans. There was no fans.
So just so everyone understands, so you beat the hell out of each other with no fans is so hard. You're not feeling any of that energy. That's really tough.
Yes.
Wow. Do you think there'll be a rematch? Would you guys
Well,
do
the
it?
rematch was with her in the Coliseum the next year, where I won the championship. But that was a cage match, brutal match.
What belt was it? Was it the one Tony Storm has
The,
now?
the one that she's.
So then, so you actually became, and I thought so, and I didn't want to make the mistake of confusing all these belts, but then you won the world championship belt,
Yes, a
the
year
big
after.
one.
Yes, so we finished our storyline, and then it took a year for us to retake it, and she was a champion at the time. But by then, I was already with AEW. Like, I was one of the very few that they can say that Tony Khan gave me a humongous opportunity, and he acquired my contract. And I came to AEW because he saw the value that Thunder Rosa had for his women's division, and like the fire that I brought into the ring, and like what I brought to every single competitor that stepped in the ring with me. I was very relentless, and at the time I was very passionate and very fired, and like I want things to be the right way. Women's wrestling, let's move, like let's do this. And some people didn't see that as something positive,
right?
And it was more of like, oh, this bitch is trying to do too much. She's trying to take my spot.
There's people who get insecure. Your passion because they don't share the same passion, so they get insecure, and so then what they do is they try to trip you up.
Yes, but it's things in life.
But what do? You just keep.
I kept going, and I won the championship, and it was an amazing moment. It was at the Freeman Coliseum again. It's just a perfect circle.
Mm-hmm.
My family was there. It was a huge moment for Latinos in general. Like, my entrance was all-female mariachi. They play a song. just to get the mariachi was quite an experience, but it was beautiful. They played the song. The crowd went crazy, and then my music came out. The place exploded, and I was dressed like a mariachi too, with the Texas flag and I had a Mexican American flag at the time.
And you design your stuff. I mean,
yes,
your costumes are incredible.
Yes.
It's all you. Melissa, Thunder Rosa, what a story, all the way to the world title. I guess if you could sum up all of this, like what do you think it takes? If it's somebody that is in a dead-end job or has a big giant dream and wants to pursue it, what would you say? What are 3 things that you had or you could offer that would, be the thing that would, where you made it or would help them?
Consistency, tenacity, and resilience. You need those 3.
Right.
You have to be consistent, because things are not going to happen from one day to another, or just because you posted something, you're not going to get 50,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency with everything. Relationships, your body, anything you try, you have to be consistent. It takes 90 days to like start a new thing? Well, that's how you start. Tenacity, life will throw you all kinds of balls, all kinds of things. And you have to know this is what you want. And resilience, I was resilient from the day I was born. I was born with a umbilical cord in my neck. Life was not going to be easy with me. So I was born resilient. No matter what happened, you continue going.
So, and do you think that those 3 things will knock out fear? Yeah, because I think that's what holds people back is they're so afraid.
Once you make the jump, you can. If you're in a pretty crappy situation.
So is that your advice? Take the jump?
Yeah. Otherwise it's like you can't live in fear. You're not living. You stay stuck, like you were saying. I've seen it with so many things in my family. You have to break those cycles. People are afraid of leaving abusive relationships because of what's going to happen, because it's too hard for the kids. And like, you have to take a leap of faith. And if it happens and it works, well. If not, you try again. That's part of living life.
Incredible. Side note, you know what I like to eat when I train?
You You do? What kind of
Wonderful pistachios.
What kind of pistachios?
Well, wonderful pistachios is all kinds.
Oh, wonderful pistachios. I love wonderful pistachios.
Don't you love them?
Yes, especially the ones that are like the what is it, snack size?
Right?
Yes.
You see, Dwayne, you give me a hard time. Dwayne and Nike give me a hard time because, we do these commercials, but it's like, you just throw it out there and you see. I
eat wonderful pistachios.
So when I'm on the plane, I always bring the bags on the plane, but those little handbags, I can't tell you times like I'm crashing and I grab one and I'm good.
The ones, especially the ones that are peeled, to me, those are my favorites.
Yes, you've got to get those.
Yes.
And all different flavors. But you, who especially like you're always on the go, you're traveling and you're always working out, so you're getting that good protein.
Yes.
Right?
And the fats, the good fats.
Right, all of it.
I love them.
Wonderful pistachios.
Wonderful pistachios, yeah.
Okay, so now, Melissa Thunder Rosa, what does the future hold?
That's an excellent question. You are like the third interview that asked me that.
Yeah.
At this point, I am figuring it out because there's a couple things that I already accomplished that I did, and I'm like, all right, I'm good with this. But there's still other goals that I have not, reached. I want to go back to school. I want to finish my master's degree.
Okay.
That's one of the things that I'm like.
What do you want to get the master's in?
I'm in between sports psychology because it's so important to have a good sports psychologist. I can tell you, it saved my life in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Or I am also very interested in marketing and like social media and all this stuff because of what I do for Mission Pro Wrestling and for professional wrestling, and just how things have changed in like how you have to be in that. It's a good business too, and I'm in that business.
What did your sports psychologist do for you?
Give me another perspective when I was in the hole.
And you actually went to a sports psychologist?
Yes, I did.
Someone specifically for sports?
Yes.
It's good to know for, I think not just athletes, but even children, students who have, who are also athletes, their parents.
It's so important because especially I've come in or during injury, and when you're coming after an injury, you have to understand the process of everything and why things are happening, and like you can't hold certain grudges because it's very difficult to come back. Very, very difficult.
Thunder Rosa, you need to come back and visit my wife.
Yes.
We need to have you back on again. And where do we find you?
You can find me at Thunder Rosa 22 on all social medias, on YouTube too. I have my my vlog every Saturday. We are working on the taco vlog. I love to eat tacos too with other people, and we have excellent conversations with food. And they usually tell me things that I don't ask, but they like to tell me.
Okay.
So the new season is gonna start pretty soon, and also on Patreon, I share a lot of my personal journey there, and you can subscribe there. That's for subscription only.
All right, Melissa, this is to be continued. This is not over. And everyone else tuning into Heel Squad with Maria Menounos, remember what Maria always says as she ends each episode, and I guess most especially on this Monday edition. Be nice people, make good choices, and stay present. Dwayne.
This podcast and all related content published or distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or MariaMenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.